Hello, I'm Charles Coves, Australasia's passion provocateur. Welcome to this week's episode of the Charles Coves Show. In this week's show, the big idea is this. Are you so afraid of dying that you're not living? Are you so afraid of dying, actually and metaphorically, that you never learn to live? What a waste that would be. This weekly show is founded on the formula SA plus P equals S. Self-awareness plus passion equals success. Your self-awareness tied in with your passion will give you success. Since 1993, when I left my successful legal career, I have been speaking to audiences, running workshops, coaching executives, coaching teams on the power of passion, on qualities of leadership, on how to live a magnificent life by accessing passion. I've done this work in 8 countries around the world, and after 27 years of doing this work, the need for this work is almost increasing. Crazy as it seems, it's almost increasing. I've also helped people via books that I've written. Passionate People Produce was my first, and Passionate Performance, both of which are available on our websites. This show is also guided by Socrates' famous quote, "The unexamined life is not worth living." You can see I'm wearing my red jacket, red the colour of passion, so when you see red, I want that to be a reminder to you to be pursuing your passion. Each week I explore one big idea for regular viewers, and listeners will know it's one big idea. Why? Because embracing one big idea is easier than embracing 10. And if there's too many choices, we don't choose any. So I hope each week the idea I share with you makes a difference to your life when you embrace the idea. I also share with you a song, some humour, a quote, a book, a spiritual tip, a health tip that will be useful adjuncts to the big idea. This show is not politically correct. This show subscribes to the view that we have a soul, a spirit, a heart as human beings. In fact, my definition of passion is that it's a source of unlimited energy from your soul, your spirit, your heart, that enables you to produce extraordinary results. So, quick review of the week. What's happened in the past 7 days since last week's show? Well, the uncertainty around the US election continues. I'm absolutely gobsmacked by the hypocrisy of Joe Biden's side telling Republicans just accept the result, don't question the result, when for the last 4 years Democrats have been attacking Trump for being an illegitimate president, for doing anything they can to get rid of him as president. And now the Democrats say to the Republicans, just accept the result, don't worry about questioning whether the election process was fraudulent or not. What hypocrisy. During the week I recorded episode 8 of the Monash Community Podcast. So if any of you live in or around the city of Monash in Victoria and you haven't heard about the Monash Community Podcast, please take a look. Please search on your podcast of choice. That's only a podcast, not a video on YouTube. The interviews that I have on that show are always inspiring, so get onto that show if you're in Monash and become a subscriber of that as well. Daniel Andrews, the Premier of Victoria, has continued on his merry way in terms of doing what he wants, no accountability at all for the hundreds of deaths that his government has caused. I was delighted to see the Secretary of the Health Department, Department of Health and Human Services, resign, quote, to pursue other opportunities. You all know what that means. During the week, I spoke at a Canadian industrial hemp conference. I was invited to go to Canada to speak at this conference, but with the lockdown, it became a virtual conference, as many of you have experienced. This was a 2-day conference. So on Friday morning, Saturday morning, I was up for this conference from 3 a.m. to 11 a.m. both days. So that knocked around my sleeping patterns. I'm surprised how a significant hit to sleeping patterns, how it knocks us around. So just observe that in your own life. Some people, they can change their sleeping patterns quite easily. I thought I could. But anyway, starting a conference at 3 a.m. in the morning is a bit of a challenge. And I've managed to get my exercise done almost every day. Although on Friday I had the joy of waiting for a tradie to turn up. And so I have to confess I didn't ride my bike on Friday because I was waiting for a tradesman to turn up. And you also know what that's like when you're waiting. I'm also into drinking my coffee. I'm addicted to coffee. I'm all in favour of certain addictions. Addiction to sport. I'm addicted to sport, addicted to coffee. Stephanie, this one's for you. And I talked last week's episode about the wonder of our new Nespresso machine. Having the joy of a wonderful coffee machine. Gosh, that's exciting. Anyway, so that was the week that was. Before I get into this week's big idea, I invite you to subscribe to this podcast or to this YouTube channel if you're watching. I invite you to visit our websites, covest.com for corporate programs, for public programs, and then charlescovest.com for the Self-Awareness and Passion Quest, a group coaching program. I'll be telling you more about that, but check it out, charlescovest.com. You can subscribe to Passion Points to Ponder on either of those websites. I'd say regular, from time to time. When I've got something specific to say, I send out Passion Points to Ponder. They are, the feedback I've had about them over the last 20 years has been excellent. And I was pleasantly reminded that I've been writing Passion Points to Ponder since October 2000. So I've just passed the 20-year mark of those Passion Points. I still keep making new ones. So, to today's big idea. Are you afraid of dying? Are you scared your heart might break, so you're afraid to love? Are you scared of losing your dream, so you never take a chance? These are words from the wonderful song The Rose, sung by Bette Midler, and of course that's our song of the week, but it's such a poignant idea. Don't be the soul that is so afraid of dying that you never learn to live. Our fears are shocking things in most instances. If you let fear govern your decision making, you will never achieve what you are capable of achieving. In some cases, fears are useful. Psychologists tell us we are born with only 2 fears, the fear of loud noises and fear of falling. All the other fears we embrace from our parents. We are indoctrinated by our parents, by our teachers, by our school, by our friends. Oh no, you can't do that. You can't wear that. And then we learn that if we are rejected by our friends, by our family, by our peer group, that is almost the equivalent of death. And so we become afraid of dying because we equate rejection with death. And so we live life surrounded by these fears, all that come from our mind. And so I really wanted to get into 5 specific fears and give you a way of thinking about them, a tool that you could use so that you don't live your life being afraid of dying. And by going specific, it will give you an idea of my thought pattern that you can use for other fears. And if you want me to explore other fears in episodes of this show, please send me an email, charles@coves.com. And that address is also shown in the show notes, as are all key links in the podcast show notes. So, 5 fears. The first, are you afraid of pursuing your passion? I talk about passion. Many people don't know what they're passionate about, but many people do know what they're passionate about. Do you have a fear of pursuing your passion? What lies behind that fear? When I have a fear about doing what I'm passionate about, and I go, oh gosh, no, I'm worried about doing that, or I'm scared of doing that, be specific. So what is the fear? And most of our fears come down to six basic fears. Napoleon Hill talks about these in Think and Grow Rich. I haven't got time to go through them, those 6, because we're going to deal with them now. But the fear of pursuing your passion, you go, no, I can't do that because my income will drop. Well, are you stopping your life because you're worried about an income drop? Living in many countries in the world, you and I have the capacity to change our careers. We have the capacity to go back to nothing. That's what happened to me when I left my legal career. I'm now passionate about teaching people about passion. I went from a very significant income as the head of commercial law in a very successful law firm to starting a whole new business. You can do that. And if the worst thing that happens is that you run out of money, fantastic. Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. We have great safety nets in Australia, in many countries around the world. And the greatest safety net that you have and that I have is our amazing minds, our imagination. Second fear. A fear of being a whistleblower. You see things that happen that you know should be brought to the attention of others. Whistleblowers, there's legislation in certain countries protecting whistleblowers. When you see a public servant acting badly, you can become a whistleblower and go, no, I don't want to make trouble, I don't want to be a whistleblower. And yet, when we see fraud, corruption, dishonesty, each one of us who lets that go through to the keeper and does nothing about it is actually colluding in that bad behaviour. And of course there are consequences again for being a whistleblower. Time magazine some years ago had a photo of 3 whistleblowers, one of them in Enron, and they all suffered. I understand that. But in fact, when you look at this suffering, part of the fear that we have is this fear of suffering. I don't want any pain. Have a look if that's your fear, because the fact is, you and I and every one of us has amazing capacity to endure some pain. Indeed, if you have no pain, how will you ever know pleasure? Do the right thing. When you need to be a whistleblower, observe the fear of being a whistleblower and do it anyway. The third fear. Fear of speaking truth in your work team or in your sporting team. What is true that you see? This is a variation of being a whistleblower, but we're all parts of teams, family teams, not-for-profit teams, company teams. I've worked with many large companies in specific teams, and we have totally rejuvenated the culture in teams where it becomes safe to speak the truth. Are you not speaking your truth in your company team, in your family team, in your professional practice team? Because you don't want to upset other people. You don't want to be rejected. You might have a leader who doesn't want to hear the truth. Why on earth would you want to be in a team where you have a leader who does not want to hear the truth? That becomes soul destroying. Have a look at what it is. What's the fear behind you speaking the truth? And then you might be getting a reputation as a troublemaker. That might be the leader's strategy for not hearing truth. I've got some shocking stories in companies I've worked in that have been fixed when we uncover the lies that are promulgated in particular teams. And the lies survive because people won't speak up. There's another benefit when you overcome this fear of speaking the truth and you speak the truth. It becomes very liberating. The fourth fear is the fear of asking for the sale. The key to business success and coming out of recessions is to help your company improve its results by increasing sales. The best way to have a company do better is to increase sales. But many people have the fear of asking for the sale. And the two major fears behind this fear is the fear of rejection and the fear of failure. Have a look at your own fear. What is the fear that stops you asking for the sale to help your enterprise, to help your not-for-profit, to help your charity where you need to ask but you're not asking? What is that fear? Look at that fear. Have a look at the consequences if you do ask for the sale. Create a new mantra for yourself that says SW by 4. Or SW to the power of 4. Some will, some won't. So what? Next. Or in fact SW4. That was SW3 with an N. SW the fourth SW is someone's waiting. When you ask for the sale, if the person absolutely says no, it liberates you to go and chase new prospects. The fifth fear is the fear of discomfort. I touched on this earlier. If you have a fear of discomfort, of being uncomfortable, of being embarrassed, of being afraid, that stops you from truly living. This embracing of comfort, this lie that we are taught that anything that is uncomfortable must be avoided. No, it is only through being uncomfortable that you grow. And if you look at your own behavior and start to go, gosh, that's right, I'm not doing what I should be doing because I'm worried about being uncomfortable. I urge you to look again at your, if you like, laziness in trying to just constantly live a comfortable life. If you are stuck in comfort, you cannot grow. You are certainly afraid of living. That's what the song is all about. That's what the rose is all about. I'll explore some more lyrics when I get to the song part of this week's episode. But a fear of discomfort is very disabling. I've just come up with a bonus fear for you. A fear of COVID-19. A fear of COVID-19. I want you to look at that and go, do you really have a fear about that? I think a lot of people do. I think a lot of people have listened to the lies of their political leaders. I'll give you one stat that you have heard me talk about in earlier episodes. The World Health Organization, anyway, it's a globally recognized organization. It says 99.5% of people who contract coronavirus have zero symptoms or mild symptoms. 99.5%. I urge you, let go of any such fear of this coronavirus. It is a lie. There is nothing to be worried about unless you have a series of comorbidities. A series of comorbidities. For people under 70, I say under 90, but anyway, under 70, and as you know, I'm proposing to live till I'm at least 120, so I'm not going to be old till I'm about 115, I reckon. Are you stopping your life because you have a fear of coronavirus? Let it go. Your awareness around the specific aspects of your fears will enable you to tame them and to embrace this gift that we have called life. So, the official topic of this week is Don't be the soul afraid of dying that never learnt to live. It comes from the rose. And it makes me think that my joke for the week, in fact, some funny lines for the week, are from Woody Allen. And I hope you think that's politically incorrect. I'm a great fan of Woody Allen. And of course, because he didn't behave absolutely perfectly according to other people's behaviours, then some people think he's on the nose. One of his great quotes, let me share it with you, from his fantastic book, The Penguin Dictionary of Modern Quotations. He says this, since we're talking about death: "It's not that I'm afraid to die. I just don't want to be there when it happens." And while I've got the Woody Allen book of quotes out, here's a few more. "Not only is there no God, but try getting a plumber on weekends." Another one, politically incorrect. "My brain, it's my second favourite organ." When he was asked the question, "Have you ever taken a serious political stance on anything?" he said, "Yes, for 24 hours, I refused to eat grapes." And my last one, this always makes me laugh. I want to tell you a terrific story about oral contraception. I asked this girl to sleep with me, and she said no. Love it. Woody Allen, what a brain. Now, the song, of course, is The Rose by Bette Midler. And the title of this week's episode is "And the Soul Afraid of Dying That Never Learns to Live." That comes from the second verse. "It's the heart afraid of breaking that never learns to dance. It's the dream afraid of waking that never takes the chance. It's the one who won't be taken, who cannot seem to give, and the soul afraid of dying that never learns to live." Now the third stanza, get this. "When the night has been too lonely and the road has been too long, and you think that love is only for the lucky and the strong, just remember in the winter, far beneath the bitter snows, lies the seed that with the sun's love in the spring becomes the rose." The sun's love, the seed. You have the seed. Your passion is your seed. Your passion is the source of your love. You have this amazing capability in you. And when you access your passion, that is the love that enables your seed to become the rose. And my metaphor for you this week is that passion is like the sun, and you access it and amazing things come about for you. Look at those words. Listen to the words of this beautiful, beautiful song, this inspirational song. My book of the week is by Paulo Coelho, who wrote The Alchemist, that many of you have heard about, but his other book, one of his many books, is The Pilgrimage. And The Pilgrimage is the story of his walk along in the border between Spain and France. And Paulo talks about letting go of the fear of death. That when you truly let go of the fear of death, that's when you truly become able to live. A quote for you. It ties into this question of fears. I've used this quote. It's from the Bible in earlier episodes. Perfect love casts out all fear. The more you come from your soul, from your spirit, from your heart, from your passion, the less fear you have dominating your life. And my bonus quote for you this week is from Paulo Coelho. It's this: there is only one thing that makes a dream impossible to achieve: the fear of failure. My spiritual tip for you, since we're talking about unleashing who you truly are, please put together a list of everything that you love. Get a bound book that you can write in your diary, but this has to be permanent. Start writing down every thought that you have that says, I love that. I love the colour of those flowers that are blooming on that tree. Julie loves the yellow colour of the flowers that are blooming on our trees. I love mowing the lawn. I love when the lawn looks neat. I love coffee. Again. Remind yourself of what you love, because we are so easily seduced by what we don't want. We're so easily seduced by our fears. But perfect love casts out all fear. If you fill your reality with things you love and you focus on things that you love, there's not much space for fear. And my health tip for you is to use a mantra. And it ties into the work I've been doing since 1965, when I went to my first naturopath. And the mantra is this: my body is a magnificent healing machine. So we're talking about the fear of COVID-19, coronavirus. No, start understanding how your body heals itself. You don't need external sources. Your body is a magnificent healing machine. And the more that you say it, the more that you direct your body, heal thyself, body, the more effective it is at healing. All right, I think I've covered all aspects. Think about how today's big idea of never letting fear stop you living your life, of never being so afraid of dying that you forget how to live. That one idea can unleash your brilliance on this planet for you to do what you're meant to be doing. I hope I'm provoking you, inspiring you, upsetting you to go to uncomfortable places to do what you are meant to be doing, to live the life that you want to live, not a life that is being dictated by others. I again invite you to visit our websites, subscribe to the podcast, share this podcast and the YouTube channel with your friends if you think it's of value. I hope you do. Remember our two websites, covest.com, charlescovest.com. Order my books, Passionate People Produce, Passionate Performance. The feedback I've had from them over the years is very heart-warming, soul-warming. And until next week, may your week be full of challenges, full of minimal fears, full of exercise, full of healthy eating, and plenty of fun, so that you come back and you're hungry to come back to listen to next week's episode, to watch next week's episode, as you're living a life of passion, of ever-increasing self-awareness, so that you can make the contribution on this planet that you want to make. See you next week. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.